Hey guys, Steve here. About a year ago I showed you how I used my Amazon Echo to open up my garage door. Well, since then it's becoming even easier to do with this little product right here from Sonoff. This is a little relay switch, which when installed will imitate you pushing the door open button inside your garage. Now this hooks up to your Wi-Fi and then can be controlled with your smartphone, and then you can eventually hook it up to your Amazon Echo. So I'm going to show you what you need and we'll set this up. Now that we're in the garage, I went ahead and found the garage door button. This is the button that actually opens up the garage door. And right next to mine is a set of wires that actually goes to the button and goes to the garage door opener. And that's good. That means I can use this little Sonoff switch with my garage door opener. If you don't see wires right next to it, there's a chance it's just behind the drywall. And that's still okay, but we're going to take a look at the garage door opener next. So I crawled up next to my garage door opener and I found the side where the control panel is. Now this is just a little door that comes off, and inside here I see a bunch of wires that are screwed into 3 terminals. Now a couple of these wires are hooked up to the sensor, the trip sensor on the garage door. That way if a kid was to run under the garage door while it's closing, it'll send the door back up. Well, then 2 of these wires go to that button that actually opens up the garage door. Now I know that those terminals on my garage door are the first and second one. Now, if I was to take a piece of wire and just connect those 2 screws together, those 2 terminals, the garage door would open up. Now we're going to take a piece of wire and we're going to run it to each of these terminals here. And the wires that come off of there will then get hooked into our Sonoff. Now this is, like I said, is just a switch. And when we trigger this, it's going to make these 2 connectors touch, essentially making these 2 touch for 1 second, which will open up our garage door. So before we actually hook this up to the garage door itself right now, we're going to go inside and we're going to set this up and hook it up to our Wi-Fi. So before we set up this board on our phone, let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. Now, for a size comparison, it is a lot smaller than, say, a deck of cards. Now, on one end of the board, there is a spot for a micro USB cable. Now, this board did not come with a micro USB cable or a power supply, so you'll have to provide those on your own. I'll leave a link in the description down below for those 2 items if you need them. On the other end of the board is where we will be hooking it up to our garage door opener. There are 3 connectors on the end of this, and if we were to flip the board over and look at the back, the center pin is the common pin, so no matter what, we'll be hooking our garage door opener up to the very center of this pin. Now at the very top and the bottom says NC and NO. That means normally closed and normally open. If we were to take a multimeter here and set it up to connectivity, so if we were to take these 2 wires and touch them, it makes that buzzing sound. So if we were to go from the center pin to our normally open, it makes no sound. But if we were to go from the center pin to normally closed, it makes that buzzing sound. So we'll be hooking this up to the center pin and the normally open pin. So let's go ahead and we will power this on and we'll go from there. Now when this board powers on, there will be a blinking light saying it's ready to be programmed. You'll see on here that there are 2 push buttons. There's the one in the center and the one at the edge. Now when this board boots up for the first time, it's in a mode called inching mode. That means if we push the button that's in the center, it'll trigger the relay for ½ a second and then turn it off. We can try that right now by push the button, it triggered the relay, and then it turned it off. That's called inching mode, and that's what we want for the garage door opener. Now this other button will put it into a mode that it'll keep the relay switch on until you push that button again. So let's try that. We'll push this bottom button, which will then turn on the outside light. Now when we push the button, it'll trigger once and it stays on. When we push that center button again, it turns the relay off. So we will go ahead and we are going to put this into inching mode again. So we're going to push this button that's on the outside edge. That'll turn off the light, put it in inching mode, and when we press the button, triggers, ½ a second later, turns it off. That's what we want. So we're also going to use that button that's in the center to put that into the pairing mode. Now before we start the pairing mode, we need to download a couple apps onto our phone. We're going to take our phone and go to the App Store, and we're going to search for the eWeLink Smart Home Control. So go ahead, download, install, and set up your account. Now I also own another Sonoff device that controls my light. Now within the app, I already have 2 devices already set up in my home. One for my light and for my printer. And I made a video about that device and I'll leave a link up above and down below if you want to check that out as well. Now with that set up, we're going to go to the settings app on our phone and we're going to go up to our Wi-Fi. Now we're going to take our little board here and we're going to hold down on that center button for 8 seconds. So we're going to hold that down until we get the light to start blinking constantly. Not blinking with a space in the middle, but constantly blinking. That'll turn this into the Wi-Fi mode so that we can hook to the Wi-Fi chip that is on this board. So now with that light blinking, let's go back to our phone. Now we're going to look for the Wi-Fi network that says iRFYTEw followed by a bunch of numbers. That is going to be this switch. So we're going to click on that network and it asks us for the password. The default password is 12345678. Now with it connected to the Wi-Fi network of this board, we're going to go back to the iWeLink app. At the very bottom of the page, there's a little plus sign. So we're going to go ahead and hit that plus sign. And the mode I'm going to use is the compatible pairing mode AP that is down at the very bottom, right above the next button. And it's going to tell you to do the steps that we just did. Next, it's going to ask us for our home Wi-Fi. Now, these boards will only work on the 2.4 gig spectrum. So if you have the 5 gig spectrum, this board will not work on that. But just so you know, most home Wi-Fis will have a 2.4 gig network on there. Now, when you finally get this board connected to your home Wi-Fi, the next thing is to give this a name. And that's what we're going to call it through our Amazon Echo and also on our app. So we're just going to call this garage door. Now with that done, we'll see that garage door shows up as one of our new devices. But we can now push this on-off button on our phone and it should trigger the relay. So let's give that a try. So it triggered it on and it triggered it off. Now like I said, that is in the inching mode. Now if we were to push this button on the outside again, that'll put it into the locking mode. And when we push this on-off button, it turns on the device and turns it off. Now, I don't know if you can see my light here, but I also have a light here. I can trigger that on. Turns it on, I can turn it off. Now if we click on not the on-off button, but click on the device picture itself and go up to the top corner, we can go into the settings for this device. So at the very bottom of our settings, there is the item for inching. Now this is where we can change this to inch for longer than a half second. So right now, with this outside light off and the other one on, when we push it, it inches for a half second. And when we push this on so the